Hello, this is NG36B. Wanted to talk about Action Plan 17, performing a risk assessment on data intended for release. I think there's some pieces that probably need a little bit of clarification, so I figured I'd give my thoughts in a video and post it. First of all, the one of the things that was brought up is that is the Navy getting overwhelmed by FOIA requests. Is it becoming a big deal, and is this why we need to automate it? The short answer is no, we're not, at least not yet. But something that we really need to consider is that in the future, kind of the future of warfare is that in the information domain, we're going to be fighting a lot. And a lot of that fight is actually fought in the unclassified domain. It's going to be fought on the internet. It's going to be fought in the media. Whether people want to acknowledge that or not is something different, but it will be fought, on the front pages of CNN and Fox. And we should expect in any sort of conflict that we will have a lot of FOIA requests, and we need to have a plan in order to be able to meet those. And the more people that we have to devote towards doing FOIA requests and releasing to unclassified networks, means that we have less people to fight the war and less people to do the things that we really need them to do. I don't think it's a matter of making FOIA unimportant. I think it's a matter of taking its importance to the right level and making sure that we are labeling data as such so that we can be able to very quickly release it. So my thought is for items that would be potentially released for FOIA, that we have a system in place that is checking data and is recommending when the data expires, when it reaches its classification time limits, to make recommendations automatically for the data. You still want a human involved because it's not just an automatic, 25 years or 50 years or whatever. It's still, you have to put some thought behind it. Is it still relevant today? Is it still would it potentially reveal sources, things like that? So you still want a human involved, but you can automate a lot of the process if data is properly tagged, and if the computer is properly scanning. Then what you can do is actually make it so that the FOIA, what the final product will already be recommended for the human being, and you can simply review it and hit release. This sounds really simple, but if you've ever had to take a 10-page document and go through it line by line to make sure that it meets the requirements, you know that is a huge pain in the butt and can in fact take you all day. And those 8 to 10 lost man hours could have been used towards something else. I also think that we should take this action plan a little bit further than that. We need to really be looking at how can we release things automatically from one network to another. One of the reasons that we have data silos, if you will, is that we have to have different classifications for data, and not everybody is read into the highest levels of data. And that makes sense, and it's understandable. But a lot of times we will have tear lines, or we will have data that is, say, secret data, but it's on JWICs. And in order to push it down, we have to go through a very convoluted system called ISI, a system that I can tell you does not always work. It will break. It's not a 24/7 troubleshoot. There's no 24/7 troubleshoot support for it. And thus, if you are dependent on getting something from one network to another, in many cases, you will hand jam it. You will look at a top secret screen, and then you will be entering secret data onto the secret system by typing it manually. All well and good for something short, not well and good for something long, and definitely has the danger of you mistake something and you hand jam it, and there's no system there to assist you in stopping from spillage, essentially. So I think the other part of this is that we should have risk assessment software for data that will automatically recommend to push it from one to the other, or one network to the other. And then this can be done for the other networks that the Navy has, or that the Navy uses. They exist all over the place, little silos here and there. Having a risk assessment that would be able to push data from one to the other would be extremely helpful. And then the last thing is that any risk assessment software that you make, you need to have tech support for it. It sounds really stupid until it breaks and it's the weekend and you have troops in contact and you need to push something from point A to point B. I have been in that scenario before. It is not fun. We made it work, but what we really need to do is make sure that tech support is there. It's not a sexy piece, but if you really want to have a tool that people are going to use all the time, then that's what you got to have. So those are my thoughts, and feel free to comment.